Hey guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. Today we're back in Trails and Tales Plus. That is because update 9 is releasing. This one is quite a good one. It's a lot smaller than most of our updates. It changes a lot of old features to make them more compatible, and it does also add a new boss. We'll cover the boss more towards the end of the video. Let's first of all cover all the changes, as this update is very change heavy. So the first thing I want to mention, I had a lot of people ask what certain features do. So we have implemented a feature which can be accessed in two ways. The first way is a hotkey. If you go to keybinds, at the very bottom you'll now see that there is a open item information GUI, and this key can be set to anything you want it to be. Or you can access this as well by opening up your inventory, and there is a button at the top here which you can click to open it. Now how this button works is you can grab most items within Trails and Tales, and you can insert them in this slot, and it will tell you the name of it and basically what it does. So this makes the player immune to sonic boom when activated. If we click next, it is dropped when an entity is killed by the sonic boom. So it tells you what the item does. If we put like limestone, for example, it tells you where limestone can be found, as it can be found in lush caves. Now, for example, not every item has information. If we was to put a baobab trapdoor, it says if you think this item needs information, let us know. So if you do insert an item here and it doesn't give information about it, but you think it should, definitely do let us know. Now let's talk a bit more about texture changes, because Juxelwood, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, has had a complete revamp. It has now been made a lot cleaner and smoother. So this is the new look to it. The doors and the trapdoors have also been updated. Same with the boats and the chest boats, and then also the hanging sign, as well as the hollow versions as well. The old texture was a bit more messy, and that was intended, but we have revamped where this spawns to make it make more sense with the new texture update. Now, another texture update is the sap blocks. These have just been made to have a blob in the middle to make the rendering of them a bit cleaner, because before they would render a bit weird. So this has just been changed. They still work exactly the same where they bounce the player. Next, the picture block has been completely revamped. This will now no longer support flowers. You can no longer place flowers on this block. Now it will work kind of like farmland. You can plant crops on top of this block. They'll grow 2 times the speed than when planted on moist farmland. So planting crops on picture blocks is way more efficient if you want them to grow quicker. The leaves for GXL have also been updated to more match the texture update as well. And then the Proti has had a texture update also. The next texture change is to do with the suspicious blocks we add, so dirt, clay, moss and tuff. And this texture change is to make them so you can notice the difference between the two if they are in a cluster. As before, inside of things like dig site, you wouldn't be able to notice the difference between the two of them. And this has been changed when you brush them also. And the final block texture update is to do with the replication table. And this is the GUI has been updated to better match what items can be inputted into these 3 slots. We'll cover a bit more about a change that has been made to this later on, but this slot will also rotate between the items that can be duplicated, and this up here will now show the netherite ingot, which goes into the slot. Now, a quick little item update. The petals have had an item update to match the pink petals. Before they'd use a different item texture, and we've now updated them to all use the same item texture. The crab claw has had an item update, so the item texture is different to the item in your hand. As you can see, the item in your hand is still 3D, but the item in your inventory is 2D. Then loomberries have had a name and texture update, and the Voiva campfire has also had a item update to match the other 2 campfires. Now, naming updates. These blocks right here have just had a name update to be pile of and then the block. Before they were called dirty pile or dirty layer. They've now just been updated to make them make more sense. And these 2 right here have been updated to be called glowing. And then finally, the ender horn has had an update to just say echoing void, as that is the sound it plays rather than what it said before. Now, some other changes. First of all, fragile touch has been completely revamped. Fragile touch and ancient touch. Ancient touch has been removed from the game, and it has been merged with fragile touch. So Ancient Touch, if you don't know what that did, that basically made it so you could break suspicious blocks a lot slower. So when you were digging out things like trail ruins, you wouldn't accidentally break these blocks. And Fragile Touch done it so you couldn't break spawners or budding blocks. Well, it has been merged into one, so if you have this enchantment on your tool, you will now break suspicious blocks, spawners, and budding blocks a lot slower. Smooth Deep Slate has also had an update to now spawn within the Deep Dark to make it a little bit more common. And then Weeping Effect has had a colour update to make it more noticeably different to other potion effects, as before the colour was the same as I think Speed. A few more updates. The Throwing Axe item holding has been updated to be a little bit different. And when you hold it in this view, it is also different. The Bamboo Spear has had quite a few updates. When you hold it, it will now be different also to make it a little bit better. And also the model has been updated to make it a little bit more thicker, because before it was quite thin. And another change, when you hold it in your hand, the colour of the tip will now display when you hold it. Now, a few minor tweaks / adjustments. The hollow logs can now be used as a furnace fuel. The next change is to the sniffer egg and suspicious sniffer egg. Before, you would be able to make a hollowed version of these, which is a version that can't hatch, and that would be crafted from shells. Shells would be gotten when these guys break. Well, the shells have been removed from the game, and you can now just wax them. When you wax them, you'll get a new block, which is called the hollowed version, and you can break these. If we go in survival mode and break them, you'll then pick up the hollowed block, which you can move anywhere in the world. You can get the normal sniffer egg back just by waxing it, and if we now break this, you'll see I get the normal egg back. A few more tweaks we are going to cover is Wandering Traders will now be able to sell the Ancient Script. The Ancient Script has been removed from all other loot tables, and the only way to obtain it now is from Wandering Traders. The Starve has been completely revamped. The Starve will now kill entities. When it kills an entity, it will basically consume the XP that entity drops. It will no longer steal enchanted items from the player. So when you first of all spawn the entity, it will have this stored XP count, and this will be 0 by default. When it then kills an entity, let's use husks as examples because these don't burn in the daytime. So it will, let's actually hit it a few times because otherwise it will kill the staff because they don't have much health. But now it has killed that husk, the stored XP has gone up to 5 because the husk drops 5 XP points. So for example, we can alter this value by doing this command. Now this is only a creative thing. In survival mode you would have to alter this value by having the mob kill more entities. So the reason we've done this is to make the starve something that you want to have in a farm. You want to throw the starve into like a creeper farm or something to have it kill a load of mobs. And if we alter this value to, let's say, 1000, and then we get the data for this entity. So let's do that. Let's do data, get entity, and then that entity. You will now see that the stored XP is 1000. You can see that my current XP is 0. If I kill the starve, it will drop nothing, no XP. But it will have a 60% chance to drop an enchantment book. This one, that we set the stored XP to 1000, if we now kill this one, as you can see, we got 26 levels from it. And that is because they will now drop the amount of XP they have stored up. So the longer that you leave the starves killing things, the more XP they will get, and the more value they become. You do have to kill them though, so it's not something that you can keep abusing and using. Now how you find the starve, they now spawn in the Deep Dark, and that is the only place you can find them. The final thing that we're going to cover in this platform is the Isolager. The Isolager has been completely revamped, model, texture, and also sound effects. It will now spawn with this wand. This wand will spawn the ice above the player. If we hang on a second, you'll see that the Isolager will place the ice above us, and the ice will eventually drop. Now, it doesn't spawn any other things anymore. It will only attack the player with the ice. It will no longer spawn strays. When you kill the Isolager, there is a chance to get its wand. I think it's a 20% chance, although I could be wrong. And what this does is it does the same as what the Iceologist does. When you punch an entity, it will spawn ice above their head. If it manages to hit the entity, then let's make it hit the husk. It will freeze them and do about 5 hearts of damage. But it only has 16 durability, and every time you punch an entity, it does break. So it's not something that you want to use too often. Now, 2 structure updates. First of all, the dig site. The dig site has been completely revamped. It no longer spawns depending on the biome. The dig site is now the same for whatever biome you are in. And it now has a tent with some loot inside. This is where you can find the fragile touch. It then has a little area right here where you can collect your pottery shards. And then the hole down here now has a lot more suspicious blocks. And then there is a little area right here. There is a 50-50 chance that this can be dug out, or it could be filled in how it is right now. Now also with this change, it does spawn a lot less. It doesn't spawn in as many biomes as it did before. Now another new structure inside of this update, or this one has replaced the ancient farm. And this is one that spawns in forest biomes. And it's just a grass patch with some crops inside. This makes obtaining carrots, potatoes, wheat, and also beetroots a lot easier. Now, 2 final things before we jump to the new features. The End Ascent, which is a boss mob for the end. This has been slightly altered. First of all, a change to it is when it would spawn the watchlings, which is something it does, then particles it plays would play forever, which has now been fixed and it will now only play when it's spawning. The second thing, you could sit up on a block like this and cheese the mob. Well now, if you do this, there is a chance it will throw an item at you, which knocks you back. And then the final change before we jump to new features, there is this new structure, or it's not new, it has replaced the Elderman's cave, and it has also replaced the escape portal. Now, this structure spawns in the End Islands, and it's meant to be a rifted part of an End City that has kind of just been dragged away, or it's floated away, where the End Cities are abandoned. Now, these can spawn with a few different types. I'll cover all the types in a second. Each of them have a use, so there's none of these that are useless. They do also have a block right here, which is the sap block, and this can be used as like an elytra launch pad. So I've now spawned all the different types that could spawn inside of this. They spawn just around with the small end islands. So you can find this one, which is the new way to get the traverser. This is the only way to get the traversers now. You can no longer get them from the goat horn or the ender goat horn. The second structure is this right here, and this is now the only way to summon the End Ascent. This block before was craftable. We have removed the crafting recipe, and the only way to obtain it now is by traversing the end to find this block. Once you find it though, it is reusable, so you don't need to find this structure for every single time you want to kill the boss. This just makes this armor set a lot harder to obtain, because before you could just craft this block, now you have to find it within the world. The next one is this right here, and this has replaced the escape portal, and this is the only way to find this now. And then the reason the Elderman hideout has been removed is because it now spawns here. You can find the Elderman's pouch with then a shulker defending it. And this is once again just a small little island. And then one final change that we have made. This tower does once again have shulkers, and at the very top you can find an ender chest, and then also the replication table. This, if you don't know what this does, it replicates any of the items right here. For netherite in this slot, there is a, I think like 15% chance the netherite is consumed when doing a recipe. And then an item I'll showcase in a second inside of this slot. And the recipe for this block has also been removed. So the only way to obtain it is by coming to this structure and finding it. Just to make it a lot harder to obtain, because before you could craft it up with, I think, netherite, and it was just way too easy. So now we've made it harder where you have to find the block. Once again, it doesn't break or anything, so you can, once you find one of them, unless you lose it, you don't need to find another. And when this structure spawns, It could be any one of these. They all have the same rarity, so it's not that one's rarer than the other. So the End Ascent. The End Ascent, when it attacks the player, it has a chance to spawn Watchlings. Watchlings are these entities right here with all the different types of eyes. And when you now kill this mob, let's take it out real quick, it has a 60% chance to drop a Heart of the Void. This is what is now used within the replication, and this is the only use it currently has. So the Heart of the Void goes there, the Netherite goes in the top slot, and although it does only have a 15% chance to consume the Netherite, it does need to be inputted into the slot. Now let's cover some of the new items within this update. First of all, there is now mossy deep slate bricks. These are just deep slate bricks with some moss on them, so if you want to decorate your deep slate builds with a bit more of an old mossy look, you now can. And also there is mossy cobbled deep slate. Now a few updates ago we added the brown wall mushrooms. Inside of this update, we added the red version as well, just so you can build with both of these. A few more building blocks inside this update. We've now got chiseled limestone. This is limestone, but a chiseled version. We've then also got chiseled endstone, which is an endstone themed after shulkers. And then we'd also have chiseled prismarine. And then also we'd have polished prismarine, and then polished prismarine slab, stairs and walls. And then some more end related blocks, we have polished endstone, slab, stairs and walls. So polished endstone that was added last update now has slab, stairs and walls for it. And then also we have added a new block called dark purple. And this is a block that is just purely decoration. You can craft it, or you can find it at the small end island structure that we showcased a second ago. The crafting recipe for it is as shown right here. 1 itcher, and then 4 purple blocks gets you 4 dark purple. I have already shown these, but I will show them again. We did also add the hollow bamboo block and hollow strip bamboo block, and then we'd also add the burden and warp fungus, which can be bone milled into the tree type, so these can now be moved around to get the wood and the leaves a lot easier. So we've now come to the mushroom fields, because this has had a slight update. This is now the only place you can find this wood type, and that is why we updated the texture of it, because it now spawns exclusively within this biome. But as well as that, there is now also a new mob that you can find within this biome as well. I can speed up the spawning by spawning them myself with a spawn egg, but they definitely do spawn here, and that is the cluckshroom. The cluckshroom is a new chicken that will spawn within the mushroom fields. It's from Minecraft Earth. And it basically does exactly the same as the red mushroom cows. You can shear them to get a normal chicken, or you can summon lightning near them to get the brown version. Rather than laying eggs, they will lay their mushroom type. So this one will lay brown mushrooms, the red one will lay red mushrooms. Now the final thing before we cover the boss inside of this update, there are 3 new food types: the banana, the orange and the tomato. The banana and the orange can be gotten from leaves. The orange is gotten from birch leaves. So if we just plant down a load of birch leaves and then break them, as you can see, there is chances that you can get oranges. The banana is gotten the same, but from jungle leaves. So when you break jungle leaves, there is a chance you can get a banana from them. The tomato is gotten from this structure right here, the farm patch. As you can see, this is the tomato right here. It's a little bit of a different colour to the carrots and the wheat and the potatoes. Now we are going to cover the boss, and this boss is different to the Minecraft bosses. So first of all, you need to come to a jungle biome. This can be the bamboo, the sparse or the normal jungle. You need to bring some redstone blocks, some redstone and a heart of the sea with you. And the reason you need to bring these items with you is because you will need to craft yourself a new item called the Heart of the Earth. And this item is used to activate the boss. Now, the structure you are looking for is this thing right here. It spawns just anywhere within a jungle biome, and the way to get inside is by eating an item. If you eat an item, you'll see that the door does open up. This one does have some moss blocks right here, so you just have to break them. Once you're inside, there is a ladder. If you go down this ladder, I am going to give myself night vision real quick. Once you go down the ladder, you will be led to this corridor. If you head through the corridor, you will be met with the boss. The boss won't fight you. The boss is asleep. And the way to wake it up is by using the Heart of the Earth on the boss. Let's fight this boss so I can show you how it works, because it's a little bit different to the Ender Dragon and the Wither. I am now in survival mode, and you can see the boss isn't doing anything because it is sleeping. If you click the Heart of the Earth on the boss, it will activate the boss and the boss will wake up. And then the boss will start throwing these new blocks at you. These blocks is the crusting rock, and if you break them, you will get the item. Now, you cannot punch this boss. The boss has no damage to it. The only way to damage it is by throwing the crusting rocks at the boss. And you have to basically just fight it like that. It will also have a secondary attack where it slams the floor. And that slamming the floor does quite a lot of damage to the player if you are within 12 blocks of it. So you can run out of its range. When it then shoots after having that slam effect, it will spawn these. These are mashers, and they are basically just little minions that do quite a lot of damage. So if you want to kill the boss, you do need to get rid of these because they are quite OP. And you basically just need to try and fight it by throwing the rocks back at it. It can't be damaged in any other way. So you can't hit it with a sword, you can't bow it, you can't, we need to move, or we might die here. And when you throw the rocks, they do have a cooldown, so you can't spam them. Although it is quite hard to spam them because it's a bit tedious to get them. Now, one thing about this block, you can use it to build with if you want to farm them. When you place them down by the player, they will have the persistent tag. If you have them thrown by the slammer or the player, the persistent tag is false. When they have the persistent tag true, they will always remain within the world. When they have the persistent tag false, they will disappear after a random amount of time, basically just to clear this room and make it so it don't fill up with the crusting rock. But there is also another thing to note. If I throw a load of these down onto the floor, when the slammer does that slam attack where it slams the floor, it will also break every single crusting rock in a radius. And you did just see right there, every single crusting rock was destroyed. We have almost killed it, so we are quite close to being there. And two more or one more should do it. Yes, there we go. When you kill it, it will spawn an amount of mashers depending on the players in the range. So if there is 6 players, it will spawn 6 mashers. If there is 1 player, as you can see, it will only spawn the 1. But when you kill it, it will drop a new hammer. This is the slam hammer, and it once again has a 2D item texture, but when it's in your hand, it has a 3D model. So if I head to the surface, just to make it a little bit easier to show, and I go in survival mode, let's dig down. As you can see, it's breaking a 3x3x1. So it's just making, obtaining things a lot easier. And it does have durability, although it's not using any right now, which is weird. That is also a bug. It's meant to use 2 durability when you break a block, and it has 1000 durability, so it doesn't break too quickly. And that is everything within this update. The Slammer is a very cool, unique boss. It's not like the Wither or the Ender Dragon because it takes a bit more strategy to fight. So let us know what you guys think of the boss and this update. This update is a lot smaller because we're preparing for a massive update 10. So once again, do let us know what you guys think of this update in the comments. And if you did enjoy, do leave a like and subscribe. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. There are also a load more bug fixes within this update, but you can check them out on CurseForge if you want to know everything that was fixed. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.